There's not a day that goes by that I don't get asked something about Conor McGregor. And one of the brilliant things that Conor does is to give us no information while staying engaged. Most guys that give no information go bury their head in the stand. They don't return their phone calls. They don't utilize social media. They don't give interviews. Conor's different. Conor's extremely active on social media while giving you no information, right? I mean, I get what Conor would do, and I get it that the speculation, and I get that as we all come and we hypothesize, like that creates a conversation. No conversation is a great starting point to create a conversation, and then somebody else is going to say something, then you're going to have to retort them, and then you're going to go back and forth, and eventually the answer is going to come out, and one of you gets to say, I told you so. I'm just getting to the point where I need something, and it only has to be little. By example, here was a clue that we had. I'm backing up, but here was a clue that we had once upon a time, known as 2 weeks ago. Conor McGregor was going to come back in the summertime. Okay, great. So you get the calendar out, and you look at the cards that are announced, and you happen to notice that that's International Fight Week. And so then you go over to Nate Diaz's Instagram account, and it happens to show him training and looking like he's in pretty good shape, and you think that you've uncovered something. And right when you think you've uncovered something, it then gets revealed to us, Conor McGregor's out until the fall. So then you got to go back and do all of your detective work again. And when I tell you I just need something within Conor McGregor, return date I don't have to have, because I can fully understand in that situation where you wouldn't know. The fighter's never going to return at the right time. In the fighter's mind, the right time is as soon as possible. As soon as I can humanly do this and be cleared, that's when I'm coming back. Okay, but we don't know when that is. You're dealing with an injury, you're dealing with assessments, you're dealing with your psychological approach, aside from the physicality of it. So I don't have to know that one. The weight class is tough. One thing that Conor McGregor said over the weekend, Michael Chandler called him out. Conor took to Twitter and said, I could see this fight happening. I do believe that somewhere along the way, we're going to fight. Great job to Michael Chandler on another barn burner. So we know for sure Conor's not fighting Michael Chandler. We could absolutely wipe that. There could be no clearer text in Conor's speak that he's not fighting Michael Chandler next. Okay. Then I get hit with a rumor that Chandler's going to go to 55 and Chandler's going to fight Nate Diaz. I'm extremely light on that. Even if it comes to fruition, I'm very light on the information that I have now, because that would have been a knee-jerk reaction of which the UFC is extremely well known not to make. That would have been an announcement that came out after the day that you have all of your market on you, known as a post-fight press conference. Not to mention that fight at a weight class Chandler's yet to compete at 170 would have to get done, agreed to, and signed off on a Sunday, which is travel day. So all of that would have had to get done. The knee-jerk reaction, the spring in to action mode, to get a hold of everybody, to get the agreements on a day that Michael Chandler is boarding a plane in Arizona and headed home. I don't believe it. I don't think that that's true. I know he's not going to be fighting Conor because of Conor's response, but I need something on Conor. And the idea of Conor taking on Poirier and or Nate Diaz, I'm a buyer on that. I do believe at a minimum, whether it happens or not, those discussions will at least be brought up and exhausted until we move on to the next option. But if those fights are going to take place at 170 pounds, which is a strong belief, Conor is going to return to 170. If that's going to happen, he's going to go 170. Why in the hell not just go against Usman? I mean, in all fairness, why not just go against George Masvidal? The entire reason Conor ever touched down at welterweight is predicated on a comment Dana White made to TMZ directly about Masvidal being too big for Conor McGregor. I mean, right, if we're going to do it, let's just get on with it. Nobody's getting any younger. Why wouldn't we just do that fight? So it does create a conversation. And I don't think that I have less information than the UFC. I do not believe that Conor has spoken clearly to them and everybody's just kept it really tight. I don't think the UFC knows fully when Conor's going to come back. There's a working assumption that it's no longer summer and we've kicked the can to the fall, but that doesn't mean he comes back in the fall. That means he doesn't come back prior to the fall. That's what that statement means. And I don't think that the UFC has been told clearly by Conor what weight he's coming back at. I think that it's all speculative, and I think that that's very good for Conor. I'm just sharing with you, for me personally, I'm running low on what to talk about, which used to create a conversation for me, but now I'm narrowing down. I got to have some insight here. I got to know if we're narrowed down to 5 guys. If we're narrowed down to 3 guys, that'd be really great. I could live with if we have a weight class. And I'm not sold on the idea it's not going to be for a championship. I mean, I do think that this stuff with Charles Oliveira changes everything. There's 3, 4, 5 guys I could tell you at the absolute top. 3, 4, 5 guys at the absolute top of 155 pounds that if Charles Oliveira was announced he would be fighting them today, you would have a minimum of 3-1 odds favoring Oliveira. I am very strong in telling you Oliveira versus McGregor will never, including at its most lopsided points, surpass 2.5 to 1, favoring Oliveira. Oliveira will be the fight going into that. But the X's and O's of McGregor versus Oliveira, it's one of those really interesting matchups. It is highly unlikely to go the distance. Charles Oliveira has been shown to get hit, and he's also been shown to fall down when he gets hit. Conor McGregor is not only real good at hitting, he's going to do it from a southpaw stance. Like, I'm just saying, it's really interesting. As far as the matchup goes, as far as like what would actually happen, as much as you want to dismiss that ahead of time, say Conor shouldn't be able to walk into a time, all these different things that you want to say, if it did happen, you wouldn't be positive who is going to win. So I'm just open to this train of thought, but I am getting to the point, I got to get narrowed down somewhere. And I do think for Dustin and Nate, if they're waiting or dangling on some kind of Conor carrot, it seems like maybe those guys should just find each other. And I know that's been discussed. I don't think it's being discussed enough. Both of them have activated their troops on social media at some point, but then both of them is like a fire extinguisher. All of a sudden it hits Diaz and he quits talking about Dustin, and then the same extinguisher hits Dustin and he quits talking about Nate. I feel like that's the one, and nobody ever got in the way of it. Nobody in the media ever said, I don't want to see that fight. No fan said, I don't want to see that fight. No athlete, no trainer, nobody within the organization. Nobody has ever done anything that I've witnessed that would make 2 guys that want to find one another stop. So what's that have to do with Conor? We're back at square one. I don't know. But I'm getting to the point where I need a clue. Just one. But I do need a definitive clue in what direction McGregor's headed.